from Canto 10, Chapter 9, titled Mother Yaśodā Binds Lord Kṛṣṇa, doing verse number 21 today. Nayam sukhapo bhagavan dehinam gopika sutaha jnaninam chatma bhutanam yatha bhakti matam iha. Nayam sukhapo bhagavan dehinam gopika sutaha jnaninam chatma bhutanam yatha bhakti matam iha. Na, not, I am, this, sukha apaha, very easily obtainable or an object of happiness. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dehinam, of persons in the bodily concept of life, especially the karmis. Gopika sutaha, Krishna, the son of Mother Yaśodā. Krishna, as the son of Vasudev, is called Vasudev, and the son of Mother Yaśodā is known as Krishna. Jnaninam cha, and of the Jnanis, who try to be free from material contamination. Atma bhutanam, of self-sufficient yogis. Yatha, as bhakti matam, of the devotees. Iha, in this world. Translation by His Grace, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the son of Mother Yaśodā, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service. But he is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or those who consider the body the same as the self. Purport. Would someone like to read the purport?
I can read.
Yep.
Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the son of Mother Yaśodā, is very easily available to devotees, but not to tapasvis, yogis, jnanis, and others who have a bodily concept of life, although they may sometimes be called as Shanta Bhaktas. Real bhakti begins with Dasya Ras. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.11, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajami aham mam vartante mamasraya partha sarvasa. As living entities surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pratha. Everyone is seeking Krishna, for he is the super soul of all individual souls. Everyone loves his body and wants to perfect it because he is within the body as the soul, and everyone loves the soul because the soul is part and parcel of the super soul. Therefore, everyone is actually seeking happiness by reviving his relationship with the super soul. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Vedascha sarvar aham eva veda. By all the Vedas, it is I who am to be known. Therefore, the karmis, jnanis, yogis, and saintly persons are all seeking Krishna. But by following in the footsteps of devotees who are in a direct relationship with Krishna, especially the inhabitants of Vrindavan, one can reach the supreme position of associating with Krishna. As it is said, Vrindanam prati yagna padam ekam nagachati. Krishna does not leave Vrindavan even for a moment. The Vrindavan Vasis, Mother Yaśodā, Krishna's friends and Krishna's conjugal lovers, the younger gopis with whom he dances, have very intimate relationship with Krishna. And if one follows in the footsteps of these devotees, Krishna is available. Although the Nitya Siddha expansions of Krishna always remain with Krishna, if those engaged in sadhana siddhi follow in the footsteps of Krishna's Nitya Siddha associates, such sadhana siddhas can easily attain Krishna without difficulty. But there are those who are attached to bodily concepts of life, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, for example, have very prestigious positions, and thus they have the sense of being very exalted Ishwaras. In other words, because Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are guna avtaras and have exalted positions, they have some small sense of being like Krishna. But the pure devotees who inhabit Vrindavan do not possess any bodily conception. They are fully dedicated to the service of the Lord in sublime affection, prema. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore recommended prema pam artho mahan. The highest perfection of life is prema, pure love in relationship with Krishna. And Mother Yashoda appears to be the topmost of devotees who have attained this perfection. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Mayati Naistaki. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. We're reading from Canto 10, chapter 9, Mother Yaśodā Binds Lord Kṛṣṇa, verse number 21. So we're very, very fortunate to discuss today's verse because it really conveys the essence of this month, the Damodar Leela, because it summarizes the entire pastime of Mother Yaśodā binding Krishna with love. Right? It reveals that we can truly capture Krishna not through any other means, not through any austerities or speculation or renunciation, but through pure loving devotion. As we can see, as we know, Mother Yaśodā was running behind Krishna, who is the Lord of the universe, who creates so many universes. He kills demons, and he's running away from his mother, and he's eventually captured, not because of anything else, but his mother's love. Now, Krishna is also, one of Krishna's names is also Ajita, which means unconquerable. But we can see through these pastimes, all the devotees have been nicely glorifying these pastimes. And we can see that Krishna has become conquered. Whilst his name is Ajita, he can still be conquered by bhakti. So we can see in this verse, it says bhakti matam. And we can see bhakti matam. So Lord is easily obtainable, or is easily obtained through this process of bhakti, not by any other process. So when I was reading this purport and by Srila Prabhupada, it was very interesting that I got the opportunity to speak on this and glorify Bhagavatam, because I had some experiences. We had a big festival over the weekend, and I had some experiences, and a lot of it sort of relate to what Prabhupada was saying. So some practical examples. So I'm going to try and explain the verse to my understanding from those three examples, three practical things that happened to me over the weekend during the festival. So yeah, so first one is I was at the I was serving at the Gita card tent, and this guy came up. I know him because I went to his house. Me, Sneha, and a couple of other devotees. We went to his house about 4 or 5 years ago, before COVID. We went to his house to do a Damodar program. So we had a really nice program. They were very nice, pious people, and anyhow, we never stayed in touch or anything like that. But after that, a couple of years later, we opened the Harekrishna Temple Burbank. And I saw his wife, I recognized his wife, and she used to come with her kids, two girls, regularly. But he was very, he used to come, but not very regularly. Anyhow, but we always had good, cordial, conversations when we spoke. Anyhow, coming to Saturday, he was waiting at the Gita card stand, and he came as soon as someone got up. He quickly came, and he started sharing. Suddenly, he said, don't have a really deep relationship with him, but he suddenly just poured his heart out. out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting that. To be honest, I was taken a bit aback because he was talking about his entire life. He was, he's a grown man. He was sobbing at some point also. So he was really, you could see that it was really a subject that was really bothering him. So he was speaking about basically, I won't go into all details what he spoke about, but basically, in essence, he used the word that he is in a very difficult situation in terms of, that is, he used the word manthan, right? That there is this churning going on in his heart, because he was very pious growing up, very spiritual growing up, following a lot of things back in India, but some things happened in his life and he's turned his back. And ever since, he's going through this struggle. He turned his back towards God, he said, and he's been going through this struggle. There's no peace in his life. He said, I've got materially, I'm happy, but there's no peace. And his question was, so coming to the question, his question was that, is Jnana Yoga, I want to realize God through Jnana Yoga, because according to him, knowledge is most important. But what the churning is, that he says that I try, but it just doesn't get me anywhere. But then he's obviously come to a few talks and a few classes and so on. And he still remembered a few things that we had said during Damodar program at his house 5 years ago. And, it was obviously about love and bhakti yoga. So he was asking me the question, why cannot I not approach through Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga? So today's verse is also a bit about that. It's about that if you approach Krishna through any other means, right, if you approach Krishna through any other means, Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga, yes, whilst you're still engaging with Krishna's energy, you're still not reaching Krishna himself. So what I told him was, yes, Gyanis do try to understand God through knowledge, through various scriptures. They analyze and so on. And they do eventually reach the conclusion that, yes, I'm not this body, I am the soul. But every path has a particular destination, right? Not always all paths. Eventually, yes, all paths leads to Krishna. But in this case also, if you're practicing say Jnana Yoga, which he was asking about, that is, yes, whilst that is, you're engaging with Krishna's energy, that's still the impersonal energy of Krishna. And you're still engaging with the effulgence, not the source of the effulgence, and so on. Just same, giving the example of karmis. Yes, karmis also serve God unknowingly. They do pious acts, they do good things for others, they help others, they give donations and so on and so forth. But that again is engaging with the material nature, right, in one way, shape, or form. Yeah. So karmis in that way experience Maya Krishna, the reflection of his happiness, not the real juice, not the real sweetness that Bhakti Yoga has to offer. So simple example is given. I heard it somewhere a long time ago, where if a child spills milk on the floor, the mother may scold the child, yeah, but she doesn't stop loving him. Her heart melts. She even wipes the floor for him and hugs the child and continues to feed him with affection. Because that's how mother's love works. It's very unconditional, spontaneous, and personal, and so on. And same with Krishna's love for his devotees. And that's what Bhakti Yoga is. So we may make mistakes, we may forget Krishna, we may fail in our duty towards him, but he never rejects us. He's patiently waiting for us, just like a loving parent, to embrace us. So that's what I was telling him. Our theme of the top discussion became that Krishna sees the intention within our heart, not the perfection. Because somehow I felt that he was seeking perfection in what he was doing. So I told him that Krishna sees the intention behind what we're doing, not the perfection, right? So you take one step towards Krishna, he takes 10 steps towards you. Prabhupada said that very famously, right? So again, like a child, if he stretches his arm to his father, he does not. The father does not wait. He comes running to the child and embraces him like that and lifts him up. And that's how Krishna deals with his devotees as well. And we all know the pastime of Damodar month, that Mother Yaśodā didn't just bind Krishna with rope. It was always 2 fingers too short. Doesn't matter how much rope they got, it was always 2 fingers too short. Krishna, who is Ajita, eventually was bound with her endeavor, her effort. Krishna saw the effort, he sees the intention, and then he gives mercy. That's the 2 fingers too short significance. So this verse that way is very, very important because Mother Yashoda represents the pinnacle of bhakti. Right? She did not meditate or she did not study Vedanta. She simply loved Krishna as her own child. And that is because of that love, she achieved what a lot of, I told him, what a lot of Gyanis, Karmis, and other yogis, and so on, they don't achieve. Yeah. Krishna is bound by the affection of his devotees like that. So that was one of the things that one of the people I met, and I'm not sure if I sort of convinced him or that, but at least I think he was favorable. He heard intently, and yeah, he said he would like to do something, some little things at the temple. He said he's a good handyman, so maybe he might come and help us out someday if he needs something. He lives locally, so yeah. Then the other guy I met. He came with his family and 2 girls also. And the card that he picked was this verse that Prabhupada mentions in the purport, Ye yathamam prapadyante. So we were discussing a few things, and we got down really to the basics because they were quite new. He's originally from Canada, moved to Brisbane now. So anyways, having a chat with him, and the girls were teenagers and they were quite curious also. So we were talking about some really basic stuff, like it's mentioned, Ye yathamam prapadyante. We're talking about reciprocation here, how Krishna reciprocates, right, to his devotees. So we went to the basics where Krishna is to tell them that our natural position is to really be servants to Krishna. Right? That when we are trying to surrender, because when we talk about surrender, right, or reciprocal, sorry, when we talk about reciprocation, right, we've got to do something. But before we do something, we need to understand what position we are in. So that's why we started with this thing of that we are servants, right? So it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. The real identity is that we are servants of Krishna, eternal servants of Krishna. Right? So a lot of us would have had this experience where our fathers or our family, when we were growing up, when we were babies, they would put us in the front seat, right, in driving, in the driver's seat. And, we are moving the steering wheel and so on. We feel like, hey, I'm driving the car, and the father, he'll be sitting on his lap, and we're just smiling, and he's just smiling away because he knows that he's not driving. He thinks he's driving, but he's not. He can't even reach the pedal, or the brakes, or the accelerator and so on. So similarly, in this um, material world, we think we are driving everything. We are responsible for everything. Everything is dependent on what we do. We are the controllers, but we are not. So Prabhupada really very nicely explains this principle of dependence. He says that when we accept our natural position, the world works in real nice harmony. This material works in nice harmony. There is peace in our life, right? But when we try to act contrary to that, and when we think we're trying to control, there is a lot of unrest, unhappiness, struggle. So an example is given where, say, water naturally flows downstream or downwards, right? But when you try to make it flow upwards, you need to use it's very difficult, right? But you can use pumps, say with modern technology like pressure and electricity and so on. But it becomes quite an endeavor, quite a difficult process. So same way, when we resist our natural role as servants for Krishna, right, our work is always uphill. Right? There's always stress, anxiety, dissatisfaction. And we can see that in today's day and age. We don't have to look far. Look at your neighbor, look at your colleagues, and you'll see the struggles that everyone is going through. So anyway, so this is what we were discussing with this guy about this verse that Prabhupada mentions, and we said we are not the masters, we are the servants, right? We think that we are independent, but we are actually dependent on Krishna in a lot of ways. Then we also discussed the famous verse from Bhagavad Gita, Devi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya. Sorry. It says, my material energy is very, very powerful and that nobody can escape. Right? So, earthquakes, um, fires, you see bushfire season is coming up. And all of those things that happen, right? Storms, we had a fair share of our storms in Brisbane. One storm, one tsunami, or one big natural calamity, it just changes everything, uproots the entire world. And that is Krishna's energy, that is the material nature, Krishna's energy. So we said that, we've got two choices. We were discussing this. And we said we've got two choices. Either we are controlled by Krishna's internal energy, which is bhakti, or we're controlled by Maya. Being controlled is not an option. Being, what do you say? Uncontrolled is not an option. Either ways, we are being controlled. It's just that what do we want to be controlled by? Yeah. We see a lot of protests. Recently there was this big protest nationwide for immigration and so on. Yeah. But we see that the government will clamp down, because if you do anything unconstitutional, yes, you can do protest and whatever it is. But if you do anything that is unconstitutional against what the government, against the law, then you'll face the full brunt, full force of the law. So like that, same in Krishna's, in our world, in Krishna's case also, right? If you surrender voluntarily to Krishna, yes, we got this freedom, the spiritual freedom. But if we reject him, we can face the strict force of this material nature. So I said, and he quite liked this analogy where we said that in either cases we are controlled. Right? Prabhupada also gives the example of a drop in the ocean. Right? A drop in the ocean, we don't lose whilst we merge, we still have our independence in that. We still have our individuality in that way. Right? So so we discussed the internal energy versus the external energy, and so we eventually said that Krishna says that all great souls take his shelter of his internal energy, not his material energy or his external energy. And his internal energy is Srimati Radharani. And this is the month of, it's Radha Damodar also. We worship, yes, Yaśodā Damodar, but Radha Damodar also. Because Radharani represents pure devotional service, serving Krishna with love, without any selfless motive. So when we take to her mood, we naturally become servants. We naturally become humble. We naturally start loving. Right? So then we ended up with this guy. We ended up with saying that the choice is ours. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamiham. That as we surrender, Krishna will reward us. We'll reciprocate accordingly. Right? So real independence is not freedom from control, but real independence is choosing the right controller. So that what I thought was again something to do with this verse that we're discussing today. And the third person I met was while I was serving. We were setting up the festival, and anyways, we were while we were doing some service. I hadn't met him, so I was just doing some small chat with him. Where is he from? What is he doing here? How did he find us? How did he come here? How long he's been coming here? And all of those sorts of things. Anyhow, so his story was interesting. So he told me that, yeah, he's come here a few times now, not very regularly, but he's come here a few times. He said he came first to the temple down the road and he saw the sign and he came. So that the first day he came, it was very late. He came about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And as we know, we serve prasadam usually at 6:30 for most days. And by 5:30 most days. And by 6:30 it's over. But he came later, 7:30, and he came in. He took darshan, and he was just leaving, and he asked, "Can I get some prasad?" And the devotee he met, he said, we serve prasadam. Which we already serve prasadam from 5:30 to 6:30." And he goes, "Oh, okay, no problems." He was quite humble. And he just probably was about to leave. He said, but he's like, this devotee. As soon as I left, this devotee was like, "No, no, no, wait, I'll get you something." He goes, no, don't worry. I was just here to do darshan. I just thought I'll have something while I'm here. He goes, no, you wait. I'll get you something. And this devotee, he went in and somehow got a plate of prasadam for him, everything. And that really touched him. That really touched him. That made him feel very, very special. And he said, oh, he went out of his way. I told him, no, I just wanted a little bit. And he gave me a full plate of prasad. And he said he was very, very hungry that day. He hadn't eaten anything for most of the day. So that really hit a chord with him. So this small act of the reason I'm sort of sharing this is, and how is it related, you might ask, to this verse. You can see that this small act of love that he experienced from this devotee, we can see that that is bhakti yoga in action, because it deeply touched him. And he said since that day, he comes as regularly as he can. He said that day, so on Saturday, he'd even brought his mother and one of his cousins, his cousin's sister. And he said she was also serving at one of the tents with some Mataji, serving prasadam. So we can see that just by this small act of kindness, one simple um, expression of love, this guy started coming. So this devotee didn't preach to this guy, right, with philosophy or any quotes or anything, or they didn't perform any big meditation or any austerities or anything like that. It was just simple prasadam, right? But very, very heartfelt. And through the love that this guy experienced, this devotee gave him, Krishna entered his heart. So that is bhakti yoga in action, through loving devotional service. And when you think about it, we all have come to this Krishna consciousness movement through examples like these, through cases like this, somehow or the other. It might not be through prasadam, it might be through something else, but devotees have somehow or the other touched our heart, right? So whenever we are serving anyone selflessly, be that cleaning the temple, be that setting up the festival, be that going on Harinam, we are performing bhakti yoga. Very early on, I was told when I joined that we are representing Prabhupada. We need to set a certain standard. And we can see now why. I can see now why. So over the years, I've realized this. Because bhakti means is a relationship. It's not any, it's genuine connection, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. It's genuine connection, born out of love. There's no alternate motive or no hidden agenda. Yeah. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, very famous verse, Patram pushpam phalam tayam yome bhaktya prayachati tadham bhaktya uparitam asnani paradatmana. So whatever we offer to Krishna with love, he accepts, right? So even a little prasadam, it's accepted. It's very powerful. And that is the love that attracts others as well. And if you offer anything with love to others, they will accept it. And that's what Mother Yaśodā also showed, right? That devotion, that love. And they took it. So this month of Damodar, we remember that Krishna was bound by affection, not with any rope, right? And the same examples we can see applies like that, right? The bhakti that we perform, through, say, chanting, worship, or any form of rules, it's called Vaidhi Bhakti. But eventually, we will see through these spontaneous actions, we need to reach to the Raganuga Bhakti level, which is just spontaneous love, which is how we remember Krishna especially in this month, or always, but especially in this month, the Krishna in Vrindavan. Mother Yashoda didn't see him as Supreme Personality of Godhead. He didn't see him as the Supreme Lord. His friends didn't see him as that. Even the gopis didn't see him as that. They just saw him as a child, as their son, as their friend, or as their beloved in gopis' cases. Right? So like that, we need to develop a relationship with Krishna, and eventually reach the level of spontaneous love for Krishna. I just want to end with this, that the essence of Kartik. I was listening to a class by my Guru Maharaj, and he was saying the essence of Kartik. Yes, we take extra rounds, and we do different kinds of things. But the essence of Kartik is not only to perform austerities, right? That we need to somehow or the other attract Krishna. So the objective is to increase the remembrance of Krishna, and that is the main purpose. That is hearing and chanting regularly, and deepening our practices to the point where there is more and more realizations, there is more and more experiences like this that we have. Yeah, so it's just gone past 7, so I'll stop here. So if there are any questions, comments, or corrections, please let me know. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Just wanted to talk about Krishna Prem. So it's the highest perfection in life. I just wanted to use the context of our own children. Now, our own children are byproducts of us. They're physically present, so we raise them. We have love for them when they're born. That love grows throughout their lives. But Krishna's not physically present. I mean, we don't see Krishna. We see him in the deity. We hear, we listen, we chant, but not being physically present. My question is, how much of this Krishna Prem, developing this Krishna Prem, is actually Krishna's mercy? You spoke about, we can develop it through the hearing, the chanting, but actually, what impact is it of our readiness to receive this, to actually establish this? If we're chanting and we're listening, are we guaranteed in this body to achieve it? Or is it perhaps we're not ready in this lifetime, and Krishna controls when we receive that Krishna Prem? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the question. Prabhupada says very emphatically, it just takes one moment to realize Krishna. Right? It just takes one moment to realize Krishna. So if it's possible or not, I can say from what I've heard and what I've learned over the years, that yes, it's definitely possible in this lifetime. 100%, that's guaranteed. Krishna says it, Prabhupada says it. So yes, it's definitely possible. Talking about it from a daily perspective, yes, Prabhu, I think to get to any destination, it takes time. One thing that I have in my realization, and I can talk from my personal experiences, that I can feel a lot of things that happen to me, are happening to me, or happens to most of us, is because of our previous lifetimes also. We've got a lot of built up karma. Now, if we are following the process of bhakti, it slowly purifies us. And like the example is given of the silo of a rice. Right? When you open the tap, what's coming out is still from previous karmas and things like that. But we are filling the silo with the good rice or the good karmas and so on, right? Or our karma. You're following Krishna. So then eventually that'll all go through. So yes, whilst it takes time to realize all of these things, it will happen one day. And we got full faith in our scriptures, and a lot. And again, talking from my experiences, you will experience, or we will experience these minute microseconds of happiness in the spiritual world, right? I've given this example a few times where I remember going to His Holiness Keshav, Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj's initiation, and the mood was so electrifying. The mood was so I don't know. The only other way to explain it is it was just spiritual. I felt I was in the spiritual world, right? So like that, there are a lot of examples. When we are preaching, we did our program Tune In, and there are a lot of we've done many programs, but there are certain programs and there are certain times when you have certain conversations with certain people, you experience these things. So over time you will experience these things. And my only realization from all of these things is to say, hold on to these things, and you will see, write these things, and it will sort of help you go further in your devotional life. So I don't know if I answered your question, Prabhu. I hope it helps.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. So I guess what I gleaned from what you say is that, with our sincerity and our effort, Krishna will facilitate that prem eventually.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, you'll experience these moments, is what I was trying to say to that, is you'll experience these moments where you'll feel that love from Krishna.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation and the lovely class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So in response to Prabhu's question, one of the things that we can feel encouraged by is looking at the progress rather than the perfection. This is what Chaitanya Prabhu is mentioning, and he said during a podcast with another mature senior devotee, he was mentioning that if we look at the progress, then we will be very, very grateful, and we will see Krishna's name, we will see devotees' efforts, and we'll see all things that we are blessed with, and then we can move forward. If we see that we are so far away from perfection, then it's kind of a little bit discouraging, and then we will have all these doubts coming. That is this achievable in this lifetime? Is Krishna really there? And all these doubts will come because there's a lack. So that's from lacking perspective. But if we see how much we have progressed, we will be so grateful for all the help we are receiving, for seeing Krishna's hand. And I don't know how Srila Prabhu also want to mention in the nectar of Yaśodā, that prayer, that Lord, please remember what I have done. And in nectar of devotion, we have this thing that we can expect. In this material world, expecting something from others is seen as a weakness and is a no-no. But nectar of devotion encourages, and there's this thing that we should expect, and we are allowed to expect. We have the right to expect from Krishna. Krishna's help. So that's the thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, I guess now. Any other comments or corrections or questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I
Yes.
would like to share something on the thing you shared about the Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, the question the person asked. So
Yeah.
I was listening a lecture from Amrinder Prabhu, and Amrinder Prabhu shared an incident from Prabhupada South India tour with his disciples. So they were chanting Brahma Samhita in that temple, and some Brahmana came and he said to Prabhupada, like, their pronunciation is not good. So then Prabhupada replied to that Brahmana that their pronunciation might not be perfect, but their renunciation is perfect. So he said to that Brahmana, like they have left their country, their family, their bad habits, everything, their happy life for Krishna. But what is the benefit if person can chant the Brahma Samhita perfectly but cannot leave the filter coffee in the morning? So Krishna sees the endeavor what you do for him every day. So that was very, very strong response from the Prabhupada.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Prabhu. Okay, it's about 7:10 now, so we'll end here. Canto srimadbhagavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.